Labor productivity, which is the main driver of a country's economic growth, is measured and published by Department of Statistics Malaysia on quarterly and annual basis to provide the most recent performance of the country's labor productivity. Thus, today, DOSM released the labor productivity statistics for the fourth quarter of 2021 and preliminary data for the year 2021, which measured as value added per employment and value added per hour worked. The labor productivity per employment in this quarter picked up by 1.7% as compared to negative 5.6% in the previous quarter, as the production of goods and services rose faster than employment growth rate. Value added per employment in this quarter amounted to 24,006 ringgit per person. During the quarter, Malaysia's economy turned around to 3.6% from negative 4.5% recorded in the previous quarter, following the resumption of most economic activities in line with the transition to the Phase 4 of the National Recovery Plan during the period. In line with the expansion of economy, employment went up by 1.8% as against 1.2%, recording a total of 15.4 million employed persons. In the meantime, labor productivity as measured by value added per hour worked posted an increase with a growth of 1.3% after decreased marginally by 0.6% in the preceding quarter. Value added per hour worked in this quarter amounted to 42.2 ringgit per hour. In the fourth quarter of 2021, total hours worked increased by 2.3% to record 8.8 billion hours, reflecting longer business operation hours during the quarter. Next, the labor productivity performance by economic sector. Labor productivity per employment in agriculture sector went up by 2.9% as against negative 2.6% in the preceding quarter. Employment in this sector decreased marginally by 0.1%. In the meantime, labor productivity by hours worked turned around to 1.7%. Value added per employment in this sector was 13,498 ringgit per person, while value added per hour worked was 25.4 ringgit per hour. Mining and quarrying sector recorded a double-digit decline of 10.7% in labor productivity by value added per employment during the quarter. Similarly, labor productivity by hours worked also decreased by 9.3%. The level of labor productivity per employment in this sector was 311,151 ringgit per person, while labor productivity per hour worked was 526.8 ringgit per hour. Labor productivity as measured by value added per employment for the manufacturing sector rebounded strongly by 5.3% from a negative 3.5% in third quarter 2021. Likewise, labor productivity per hour worked increased further by 4.6% from 2.3% in the preceding quarter. The level of labor productivity in the third quarter 2021 as measured by value added per employment was 34,316 ringgit per person, while in terms of hours worked amounted to 58.4 ringgit per hour. As for construction sector, the labor productivity expressed as value added per employment declined with a smaller negative of 11.2% as against negative 18.8% in the previous quarter. In the meantime, labor productivity per hour worked also trend down with a negative 11%. The level of labor productivity per employment was 9,063 ringgit per person, while labor productivity per hour worked recorded 15.5 ringgit per hour. Measuring labor productivity per employment for services sector grew 1% as against decline of 6.2% in the previous quarter. On the other hand, labor productivity per hour worked increased marginally by 0.7% after registering -1.8% in third quarter 2021. In terms of labor productivity level, value added per employment was 22,565 ringgit per person. Meanwhile, value added per hour worked in fourth quarter 2021 for services sector was 39.8 ringgit per hour. Looking at the overall performance for the year 2021, the labor productivity per employment rose by 1.8% as against -5.5% to record value added per employment of 90,647 ringgit per person. Meanwhile, value added per hour worked declined by 2.6% as compared to a positive growth of 3.4% in the preceding year. The value added per hour worked amounted to 41.0 ringgit per hour. In comparison with the pre-pandemic period, the level of labor productivity per hour worked has exceeded the 2019, which was 40.7 ringgit per hour, while labor productivity per employment remained lower as compared to 94,162 ringgit per person recorded in 2019. By economic sector, manufacturing was the only sector has surpassed the pre-pandemic level while the others were still below. Currently, only United States of America and United Kingdom have released their fourth quarter labor productivity statistics 2021. Labor productivity per hour worked for the United States of America increased 2% as against -0.5% in the previous quarter, while the average hours worked recorded to 32.5 hours per week. Meanwhile, labor productivity per hour worked in United Kingdom rebounded 0.5% after recorded -4.3% in the preceding quarter. Labor productivity per employment increased 5.4% from 6.5% in third quarter 2021.